Welcome to American Hammers TV, a rare edition after a victory. In our last match, a bittersweet victory because now we don't know what to do, right? Anyway, yeah, rare edition after the nice 1-0 win over Southampton. The best performance I've seen us put in a long time. I'm here with Selly, my buddy Selly, who's back. He's been moving around a little bit, but he's back out in Fresno, California, or close to it anyway.
Yeah, Sacramento.
Sacramento. See, eventually I'm going to get it right. Liam's in Fresno, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay, Liam's not going to be with us tonight, but I was, you know what? I get it mixed up. I'm sorry, that's my fault. Sacramento.
Oh, that's okay.
No, California. I knew it's just like, well, Fresno's on the coast, I think, but Sacramento's like inland.
I don't know if Fresno's on the coast. I think it's more eastern. As far as like where it is. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. You know, I only know like Southern California, and that's pretty much it.
It's all good. It's a big state.
It's a big state. Yeah, I kind of want to live in now. And Katie from Philly.
That's right.
I know where that is.
Good.
I've been there. I never forget when somebody's from Philly. We got friends in Philly. We go down there from time to time. So, all right. So before
we're waiting for you to come to Stowe's.
I will. I know Tim's been down there with Max, and I need to get my stuff together and get down there with the boys. My boys are 6 and 9, so it's a little more difficult. The thought of sort of getting them up at 1 a.m. or whatever, driving all night to Philly. I'm not sure they're ready for it yet, but we'll get it done one of these days. Get down there on a Saturday. Yeah.
Good.
So Charlie Boy from Brooklyn, who's now living in Cleveland, but he's very Brooklyn. He should be joining us later. Hopefully, I think he was driving home or something. So if you're in the chat room, Ray, Stuart, I see you guys there. Welcome. Before we start, let's do what we always do. Let's talk about scarves and things like that. If you go to AmericanHammersTV.us, you can order a scarf. Again, I'll say no more Houston Oilers scarves. They have proper colors now. No more red and blue. Now they're proper claret and blue. Although the red and blue ones weren't really that bad. So anyway, take a look at that, and I will look at the PayPal and see if anybody's ordered one. Because if you have in the last week or so, I've probably forgotten to check. Anyway, we'll get it to you. And then ahtv.threadless.com. As is now the holiday season, and we're buying gifts for each other, hopefully, or treat yourself. That's okay too. That's what I usually do. My wife buys all her gifts and then says, "You can give this to me," and I'm like, "Well, just take it. I don't want it. Like, just use it now. Like whenever it arrives." Anyway, treat yourself. Anything you could possibly imagine, you can get logos put on there, and every logo you could think of. Katie, show us your T-shirt, would you?
All right, I have West Ham Philly Hammers representing right here.
There you go. Comes from
Not American Hammers TV, but I plan on getting one.
If you are good, excellent. If you are like me, if you live in the Merrimack Valley, that's pretty much 3 of us that I know of. That's Tim, Ken, and I. There's a Merrimack Valley Hammers shirt out there now, but not just shirts, but like shower curtains. I don't know what the little bags you wear when you travel. Whatever.
Fanny packs.
Do what?
Fanny packs?
Fanny packs, yes, and all the UK guests are like, fatty. But anyway, fanny packs. You get the logos put on whatever you want. There's every logo you could possibly think of. Even a West Ham Weekend Review logo, I think, which is the show we're doing right now. So anyway, check all that stuff out, please, and we would really appreciate it. Also, tell your friends and your neighbors and your fellow West Ham fans and anybody you know at work to subscribe. We're so close to getting to 1,000 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000, we can start making a little money off of our ads, which means we can do things like get me a new computer so that I'm not on this lousy old my brother-in-law's MacBook that I've been using to do this for almost a year now. And we can also start giving stuff away. We're going to give stuff away when we get there. So anyway, it's not just for us; it's for everybody. Anyway, Sally and Katie, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
glad
definitely.
you're here. So I will tell everybody before we start. Sally, you saw this. Well, Katie, I guess you saw it too because you were on the message. So Tim, who obviously started American Hammers TV, the American Hammers Network. Tim, who really runs everything. Tim is in Florida right now. He's not at home in Lowell, so he's not as available as usual. But he sends us a message tonight, and he says, "Please tell everybody not to be too excited about the victory. Tell them that the owners knew that we were going to win this game, and that's why they gave Pellegrini one more game to save his job because they knew we'd win it. And it was all part of their plan not to have to fire him or sack him, to keep him around. And this is actually more bad news than good news, and we shouldn't be happy at all." That was Tim's perspective. I'm not quite there yet, but he wanted me to say it, so I said it. But the first thing I want to talk about, if you guys don't mind, let's talk about the game yesterday. And based on the performance, and I want to keep the opponent in mind too, because Southampton are obviously strugglers just like us. Have we turned a corner? You can look at our last 12 games and say we've won 2 out of the last 12. I think the record is something like 2 wins, a draw with Sheffield United, and 9 losses, if I'm not mistaken, which is really bad, right?
Mhm.
But we've also won 2 of our last 4 now, which looks not so bad,
Right.
So we're away from home. And we played a half against Arsenal, so there's that. So have we turned a corner? Do you think that this is the sign of better things happening, or is this another false dawn like we had against Chelsea, and we're going to go out and lose the next 2 or 3? Katie, why don't we start with you?
This is so tough because I want to feel like we turned a corner because I'm so excited, but I really don't think. I mean, I don't think that we have. And I kind of do agree with Tim. Like, maybe this was planned out for Pellegrini. I think that if he didn't win, then we would definitely be giving him the boot. But yeah. And I don't think they're that smart per se, but
that's a good point. It's like, you're right. It's like
I really don't.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's conspiracy theories, right? Most conspiracy theories are kind of junk because you realize that it would take too many people keeping a secret for too long and being too smart to actually pull that off,
Yeah.
And with Gold, Sullivan, and Brady, the 3 of them together, I don't see a lot of, a lot of intellect or sort of cleverness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sally? What do you think after yesterday? You think we've turned a corner?
I don't think we turned a corner. I will say the performance was a lot better than it was against Arsenal, specifically the second half against Arsenal. I honestly felt the game was up for the taking yesterday. I mean, I know Southampton they're fighting, the bottom 3 just like we are. But I think I wouldn't be comfortable saying we turned the corner, especially if we still had to play Liverpool next week.
Yeah.
With the week off, and it's not an international break, so the whole squad will be there. We'll see what they do against Crystal Palace, especially with I think Crystal Palace was one of those first games where we started, the struggle started to show, if you will.
Yep. Lost in the 90th minute, right, at home. So
yeah. So and no one likes Crystal Palace, so that'll be, just like West Ham to ruin Boxing Day if they lose, but we'll see what happens. Much improved performance from everybody, but I think we did get lucky with a couple of what's his name? Ings had a beautiful shot that was close to being in and then hit a couple posts. But even then, Antonio probably could have had 2 more goals than what he did. So
big old hands in the way.
Yeah, huge hands.
Yeah, you guys saw his tweet, right? You guys saw
yeah.
With the hand emojis. Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, and and I'll tell you what, John, we're going to get to this in just a minute, so I don't want to forget about this because yes, there is still the rumor that Pellegrini's gone anyway, which would actually make me very happy. But the whole thing with the Antonio's superb goal that was disallowed by VAR. I mean, I hate this new law in the game that says if the ball strikes your hand or arm in any way, the handball, because that ball got kicked into him.
Yeah.
Graham Lasso is an abysmal commentator who I think is maybe one of the worst I've ever heard. I don't know why it just struck me just watching, when I watched the replay last night, when I was listening to the commentary, I was like, this Graham Lasso, he's awful. Anyway, Graham Lasso was saying, I think he stuck his hand out to control the ball. No, he got kicked into his hand. He got kicked into his hand.
Pretty obviously, too.
Right. And it is unfortunately the correct call because that's the rule now. But I hate that rule,
Yeah.
If you're not playing the ball, if the ball plays you, it's the way it always used to be. It shouldn't it shouldn't disallow the goal, but because it was a superb strike and beautiful run. Now I've forgotten why I even started mentioning that. Oh no, I know. A couple of the penalty situations in the first half. Ball comes in for Antonio, and he and Allaire are kind of standing next to each other. Antonio gets taken down, which would have been a penalty on its own, but Allaire gets completely cleaned out from the back. And nobody mentions this. Graham Lasso is paying no attention to this at all. And finally, Arlo White has to say, well, there might have been a foul on Allaire too, because he gets rugby tackled. I'm pretty sure it's a legal rugby tackle. And yet they go and check, and the VAR doesn't give a penalty. How is that even possible? Why do we have this horrible technology that's ruining football if it's not going to come up with something as absolutely stonewalled as that. I don't know if you guys felt the same way I did. Probably.
Yeah, I do, absolutely, especially being a player and the fact that they can go in and view it, and I don't know, it just adds this whole other layer to the game that we never had. And I don't like it.
I hate
play.
I hate the fact that I can't celebrate a goal anymore, right? that I can't, that every goal that's scored, I have to sit and wait for a second. You know, it's gotten this way with hockey too, and I'm a hockey fan as well. Not as much as I'm a West Ham fan, but
yeah, you know who else hates it? All the Philadelphia bartenders, because they can't pour their hammer shots. They pour them and you can't drink them. And I tell everyone, you're not allowed to drink that until we get an actual goal or a win. So they sit there. There's
nothing worse, and I'll tell you, I don't want to get too far off the subject, but I was at a college game a couple of weeks ago. It was an UMass Lowell game, and it was a little tournament, a little Thanksgiving tournament, and UMass Lowell was playing Penn State. The game went to overtime, and UMass Lowell scored in overtime to win. And everybody in the arena celebrated. But then, of course, it went to review, you know. So you got to stand there. You got to sit there for like 5 minutes while they review it. And it turned out the goal counted, but it just sucks the life out of the arena, you know. You just want to celebrate it. And just so then, if that's not bad enough, it doesn't even work, right?
Yeah.
When you have a situation like we had yesterday, where Allaire just gets absolutely clocked, right in the area as the ball's coming to him. You know, it's fine. Just astonishing to me that happened. Let's talk a little about Pellegrini's tactics before we get to his future. So he played two up front, basically, right? Fundamentally, right? I mean, Antonio, was, and what a beast that guy is, by the way. Good. Yeah. Just love that man. I mean, absolutely love him. Anyway, so he got Allaire and Antonio together. He played him up front. Sure enough, it paid off. Probably should have paid off in more than one goal. Paid off in enough, But the substitutions, I mean, Antonio's gassed after like an hour, and he keeps him on for the whole 90 minutes. Sanchez comes on, which should never, ever happen. Like the Roberto rule that he just doesn't come on the pitch at all. And then we took off Issa for we took off Noble for Issa Diop. And Noble looked, fine. He looked fine.
I was shocked he took him out.
What did you guys think of both the tactics and the substitutions? What were your thoughts on all that?
Well, I was happy that he finally put two up front. Essentially, I mean, that's, even if that wasn't what he did, that's what it turned out to be. And it's kind of funny because I was thinking about it, and especially after Tim and the Pellegrini out, if he's into conspiracies and they were like, "Oh, we'll give him one more game to do well." Well, this is one of those Pellegrini things, like, "Oh, okay, I'll show him I can play with two strikers just because," And like you said, it should have been more goals. But I think the fact that we're saying that is proof that two up front is better, because Allaire looked like a completely different person. Oh, yeah. Antonio still had space. I mean, Antonio obviously can get past anybody, but if he's just only trying to get past one or two, because you have the threat of Allaire sitting right there, it's beautiful. And not just that too, but just kind of funny, Antonio actually has found a shot now, which is really interesting. He's not losing them anymore. But yeah, the substitutions were bad. If you're going to take Noble out, I would always assume that it would be for like an attacking midfielder or something. But if you're having the lead, and like I said, he looked fine. There's no need to bring him out. But I don't know. It at least it didn't cost us the game as much as it might feel like he tried to do that. I don't know. His substitutions have been weird lately.
Do you think it almost did though? Because those last 10 minutes were torrid for us. I mean,
yeah, no, they look like Barcelona. He subbed out essentially two defensive players, right? And all the cohesion was gone.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, he brought on Sanchez, who again should never be on the pitch. He brought on Issa, who hasn't had a run out in weeks, and hasn't been in particularly good form. I could see bringing Issa Diop on if you're up 2 or 3-0 and you want to say, hey, you know what, go get 15 minutes to get your form. Right. You know what I mean? But when you're defending for your life, I'm just not sure that was a good choice. And then, Yarmolenko, who's so slow.
Yeah.
I don't know, Katie. What were your thoughts? I mean, did we win this sort of in spite of Pellegrini, or do you give him credit?
Yeah, no, I think we won it in spite of him. I felt like Antonio definitely came out hungry. Exactly what you're saying. He halfway through the game got tired, and we need to reward him for working hard and give him that rest. So I just think substitutions definitely need to be managed better. I felt like we definitely played much better this week. We were communicating better. And I think that's kind of what helped us have the victory. I don't think it had anything to do with really Pellegrini.
Yeah, I felt as though the players felt kind of liberated to, be in something more like a 4-4-2. And Haller, as you said, different person, different player. I mean, with Antonio just making those runs the whole match, especially in the first half, it was just, to me, he looked, the best he's looked for us all season. Of course, I try to keep in mind that this was Southampton, right? It's not exactly Barcelona, not exactly Liverpool. This is just an opponent that struggles, an opponent that gave up 9 to Leicester at home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's not go crazy here. But I kind of feel the way you do, Katie. I don't think that we won against Southampton or against Chelsea because of Pellegrini. I almost think we had to hang on in both cases to kind of make up for the substitutions he made and the decisions he made late on, which made no sense to me.
Sorry.
I definitely think they're more comfortable playing in a 4-4-2.
I think most strikers are, right? I mean,
yes.
I feel as though that's why it's the default formation for so many clubs.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but if you look at the one goal that we did score, I think it was a really solid team goal. You had Antonio getting that ball. He almost went out. When I first saw it, I thought it was. But he goes, attacks the ball, gets past the defender, comes back in and sets up a nice cross to who was that? Fornals, I think. Fornals, and he just chips it down to Haller.
Great cross.
Yeah, it was a fantastic cross.
And listen, let's talk about that guy too. Fornals, give him credit. I think he's gotten much better. In the games where we haven't played as well, he's been a real bright spot for us. What are you guys' thoughts on him?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think lately he's probably finally adjusting to life in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. And I think it helps that he's been able to start a few more games. I think he's building some confidence in that. Because, when we got him, obviously we were pretty excited because we saw what he was doing for Spain. So he has the talent. He just hasn't necessarily maybe had the confidence to show it off. And then real quick, a small thing too with the tactics, I think kind of how we were saying with Chelsea and Southampton, there were changes that he kind of had to make. So I don't know if it's necessarily some genius thing from him. Like, okay, well, you had to start David Martin because Roberto's been rubbish.
Right.
And, it's just why not put 2 up front because we can't score goals, and we looked the threat yesterday. So
and remember, Felipe Anderson picked up some sort of knock. As I'm putting up Tim's preview of tomorrow night's show here, Felipe Anderson picked up some sort of knock. He couldn't play, right? So all of a sudden, we're in a situation where without him, we're really lacking sort of pace and creativity. And I know he hasn't been great lately, but he does bring that in a way that our other central midfielders that we have available don't.
Yeah.
So in a way, it almost forced his hand,
Yeah.
With Roberto, as you said, over and over and over again, week after week, loss after loss, it just dismal one after another. Before finally, we were going to have another Burnley situation where the fans were going to riot and storm the pitch, right? If we didn't get Nick Martin, who's been good. He's been good. He's not spectacular, but he's solid. He's competent. He's what he needs to be. And to me, it's kind of the same thing with what happened yesterday. Anderson picks up a knock, and all of a sudden we're a little light in the midfield. So, all right, well, put Antonio out there with Haller. It's like it was the only option that was left.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not because Pellegrini had some brilliant idea, but because we're running out of players.
Yeah, force into a corner.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it felt. So, so where are we on Pellegrini now? As I can't remember who it was, just posted a few minutes ago in the chat room, there is the rumor that he is still out, even though we won. I saw a tweet today. If I could find it, I would. I don't want to crash my laptop, my old laptop here, looking for it. That suggested that the board are after David Moyes again, but he wants assurance that it's not a short-term assignment. It's not a short-term thing. So and also John. So John who posted this. We're going to get to this as well, John. Yes, we got David Martin's status is uncertain at the moment. 12 days though. 12 days. Let's see how he does. Anyway, so there's talk about David Moyes. The board. They love these older guys. These guys with names who are getting toward the end of their careers, like Pellegrini, for instance. They've been talking about Rafa Benitez. Where are you guys on Pellegrini? Are you Pellegrini in, Pellegrini out? And, we'll ask the same question we ask every week. Who do you think should come in? And how do you think we should handle it?
No, you go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, I definitely think he should be out. It's all of a sudden, it seems like he just, he's gotten up and he's gotten more active at games, but I don't think he's making the right decisions, which is why I think he definitely needs to be out. I don't know that I have the answer as to who we should have, but I do almost feel like we're back in that same spot as we were with David Moyes. Like, I'm just not excited about it.
No, nobody's excited about David Moyes. Sully, what do you think? What's your take?
I don't think he's going to lose his job, but I guess if there was any time to do it, the smart time would be now, especially, with the week off, with the whole team there. You could have that new person come in and, have essentially 2 weeks to prepare the team to play how he wants.
Yeah.
But with the amount of money that he has spent on players, he should have been able to do something by now.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem
100%.
I have.
Well, this is the issue, right? January is coming,
Yeah.
I mean, so, and I'm reading today that we're tracking some player from Hull. I don't know who he is. We're tracking, various players as we always do. And of course, if you read it in the British press, it will not happen. We know that, right? So
right.
any rumor you read in the tabloids is guaranteed not to be true. But a lot of what I'm reading as well, it depends on who the manager is, who we bring in January, which makes total sense. You're not going to have a January transfer window and then sack your manager at the end of January and tell the new guy, oh, by the way, you're stuck with this team we just brought in like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So my thought is, what you said, Sally, if we're going to do it, now's the time to do it. Liverpool matches will postponed because of the stupid Club World Cup, whatever that is. Something we'll never be in. And we don't play again until, I think, Boxing Day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Crystal Palace is the next match on Boxing Day. But I don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere. I mean, after looking at it, I kind of feel like, there's some benefit of the doubt in a sense of he just had a bad luck with injuries, because I saw something where West Ham posted a picture with Jack Wilshere, and I completely forgot he was on the team.
I did too. I forgot Wilshere as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, Wilshere's been out. And I'll say that just because he's on the squad. Obviously, Fabianski's injury hasn't helped. Right. We've had a lot of midfielders go down and stuff like that. Thankfully, we haven't had any issues with Allaire. I know his production hasn't been the greatest, but, I mean, still, he's the record signing. So, it's got to count for something.
But he's a scorer, believe it or not.
5 goals. I would believe it. I mean, I believe it. I mean, Arnautovic, and Anderson last year led the team with 10 or 11 at the end of the season. So, I mean, he's right on track for that.
Yeah, I think it was 10 each, 8 or 10 each, something like that. Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
So, I don't know. And the thing with January windows, too, is you're never going to sign somebody huge unless, like, they're just not getting player or, time or whatever. We wouldn't have the money if we sacked and then wanted to sign. So that's a double, negative there. And I don't know. We'll see. I don't have any answers for those, though.
Yeah, I can feel the same way. I mean, oddly enough, I would take Moyes, but only through the end of the season, not on a long-term deal. Absolutely not on a long-term deal. He's too old. I want a younger, more energetic manager, an Eddie Howe type, a Sean Dyche type manager, maybe one of those guys, Yeah. One of the problems we have is we bring all these retreads in, and well, they are, and they don't have any passion. They don't have any. I don't think they can relate to, 20-year-old Declan Rice and 22, 23-year-old Pablo Fornals, and we had Ian Bishop on Wednesday night. In case you didn't see it, anybody who didn't watch this, please go back and watch our Wednesday night edition of Friday Night Likes that we did last week with Ian Bishop on, and he talked about how there are a lot of young players on this team, and they need help, and they're not getting it from Pellegrini. Keep in mind, Pellegrini's a guy who's used to spending a lot of money, being in places like Manchester City where he can buy any player he wants. They're seasoned professionals by the time they get there, or they're absolutely, phenomenal young superstars. They're not guys who have to get used to the Premier League the way some of our guys have had to. And I think we need somebody who can sort of relate to, can relate to the players. And I don't think of David Moyes or Rafa Benitez, for that matter, as being that guy. I just don't see, or good Lord, Harry Redknapp, who's 70 years old.
Yeah, please no.
So I'm with you. I'm still Pellegrini out. I said it immediately after the match. And yes, Neil's right. No tie stroking. Charlie, I don't know if Charlie showed up tonight or not, but Charlie
would love that one.
Calls Pellegrini the tie stroker because he says that he strokes his tie on the touchline. But he didn't wear a tie, or if he did, it was under his coat. He had his coat zipped all the way up. So without the tie, it was like it's like the reverse Samson. Samson got a haircut and lost his strength. Well, Pellegrini lost the tie, and he gained some sort of power. So, anyway, John says, tell him what happened on the show. Oh, with Ian Bishop, you got to go back and watch it again, John, if you don't remember it. I know you were there, but it was fantastic, and he's absolutely brilliant. It's funny though, because one of the things Bish did talk about was how it doesn't just come down to the manager. These players are professionals, all of them. You get to this level, you're playing in the Premier League, even if you're playing in a club that's in the bottom half, the way we always are, you're still a world-class professional footballer, and they should be able to motivate themselves, right? I mean, they should be able to go out there just because they are professional footballers and not have to have some manager breathing down their neck. I thought we looked like that yesterday. I thought that was the most passionate performance we put in, even more so than Chelsea, where I thought we did a lot of hanging on, especially at the end. I thought yesterday it was a sort of an electric, spirited performance, and to me, it came down to Antonio almost completely.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys saw the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Continue to play like you said. Antonio was tired, and I don't know, I was kind of getting a little nervous.
Yeah, I mean, Antonio wore out, and he's been injured, and we know that. And he just ran all night. So it was understandable that he'd be worn out, sometime around the hour, the 75th minute, and which is one of the reasons why, I thought maybe we'd take him off. But anyway, I feel as though he's been like our talisman, But speaking of this, as John says, he doesn't think we'll spend any money in January. Except the cash they slip to whoever takes Roberto.
Yeah.
Handcuffs him in the night and takes him away. Whatever's going to happen to him. I don't know what's going to happen to him. But anyway, let's talk about the keeper situation. All right. I don't want to panic. Okay. We're a week and a half away. But if Fabianski's not healthy, if David Martin is not healthy, I mean, surely we have to recall Adang or Nathan Trott or somebody, right? We have to do something else, right? We're not putting Roberto back in, right?
As fans, you would like to think that would be what would happen, but the reality, I don't see it. I mean, you'd probably bring him on for the bench, but Roberto's going to start just because he's got the experience, and because I mean we brought up a name for the game that David Martin was starting, and I don't know about what Roberto is doing, but I mean, if that's what it comes down to, I would like to think that what's his name, Fabianski will be fit, because it seems like that's been the target for a while and from a couple of different people close to the club. So it'd be nice, but I don't know. I just don't see this team putting someone else like a youngster in that position just for whatever reason. It just doesn't sound like something that we would do.
Yeah, and I understand the thinking. I mean, Trott's down at Wimbledon. That's a League One team, which we can't handle, obviously, when we play them in the cup competitions, but still, it's a much lower level. Anang, I think that's how he pronounces his name. We have a friend from Ghana who's watching again tonight. He usually watches us, and maybe he can phonetically spell how his name is pronounced. But, he's with the under-23s, and he's been doing fine. But, again, that's Premier League 2, Division 2, right? So it's not it's pretty far from being in the Premier League. On the other hand, though, man, I cannot see this team playing in front of Roberto again. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine the players doing it.
Yeah, no, definitely not with how they've wanted to play. They have no motivation in front of that man. So, maybe a youngster would be the placeholder for a week or two.
Yeah, I mean, all we can hope is that one of the two guys is healthy, and preferably both. That'd be better. And David Martin goes down, and it's like he takes a goal in like the 93rd minute. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just you couldn't write a script like this. Clean sheet. He's doing extremely well. He takes a goal kick in the and he injures himself. And I've read it's the same injury Fabianski had, just maybe
the exact same thing.
Exact same thing. It's incredible. Keepers never get injured. They never get injured,
Yeah.
But our keepers, anyway. So actually, that brings us to as we get a vote for a Di Canio for manager here. I think that's the circus, man. If we do that,
yeah.
Although you know what, if we brought in Di Canio as manager and we brought in Ibrahimovic and Balotelli, I'm all for it, no matter what happens. I really don't care. At that point, I'm just like, just do it. Let's have fun with it. So let's talk about January for a little bit. I don't know if we'll spend any money. Certainly, if we sack Pellegrini, if the board sack Pellegrini, probably less likely to spend money because they're going to have to pay him a large sum of money to leave, and then pay somebody else a lot of money to come in. So it's probably my thinking. It probably reduces our player budget. But in terms of priorities, what's your priority for the first position we need to bring in, or maybe the top two roles we need to bring in January?
Okay, do you want to answer first? I'm trying to think.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like we need a keeper for sure. I mean, obviously, we've been talking about that. I think the other thing would be someone up top. I think we need someone else to support Antonio.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, let me throw this in here because we have another situation coming on Boxing Day. We can't do anything about this one. Ryan Fredericks got himself a 5th yellow card. He is suspended for Boxing Day. And Ben Johnson is injured. So you know what that means? They got to roll the old man out.
Zaba? Yeah.
They got to roll Zaba out to go up against Zaha and with a lot of pace. I mean, we can't do anything about it by Boxing Day, but do you think about bringing in a right back at some point in January if there's somebody out there?
I think for Boxing Day, it'd be smart if you put out Masuaku just because he saw what the pace did to us against Crystal Palace before. That Zabaleta is another guy. Like, thanks for sticking on for one more year, but you're definitely not a Premier League, talent anymore. That might be kind of harsh to say, but Masuaku would be smart to go, especially if Anderson and Antonio and all them are fit. That'll put some pace on our side. But to answer the question, yeah, definitely a backup keeper would be nice. Another striker, maybe a defensive mid, I think. Somebody who goes box to box.
Talk about a box to box midfielder. Easier said than done. And it does make me wonder. I mean, I want to. Tim says what he always says, which is no Fredericks, and I listen. I've never been a big fan of Fredericks either. I thought he had some good moments defensively on Saturday, but he gives the ball away way too easily. He just cannot pass to save his life. Clearances are sloppy. He's not a good defender. He's not bad going forward, and he's got a little bit of pace, but he doesn't defend well. And you play in the back four, you're going to have to defend at some point.
Yeah, he's just an athlete that plays on the wing.
Right, exactly. You might as well stick Antonio back there again, the way Slav did. It's not dissimilar. And yes, I mean, and John says, Zaba keeps the kids calm. This is true, but he keeps himself calm by being about 55 years old and taking 20 minutes to get up and down the pitch, unfortunately. Yeah. But if we have to do it, we'll have to. And you know what? The other thing is, he hasn't played for a while. I think the last match he played was Newcastle.
You can do that from the bench.
Right. Maybe he's rested. You know what? Maybe he's rested. Maybe he Maybe he gets a little pharmaceutical assistance of some sort. I don't know how that works in football exactly, but whatever. Maybe he takes his vitamins, and he comes out and he gives us, he gives us 90 minutes. I don't know. But yeah, I'm thinking the way you guys are. I'm thinking obviously with our keeper situation, somebody in January to shore things up in case Fabianski goes down again, or Martin, or both, or whatever has happened now. And a right back, box to box midfield would be nice. The midfield to me right now, it's a little. I want to get your take on this too. So yesterday we have Fornals and we have Snodgrass in the midfield with Rice and Noble. And of course, we had two up front, and Antonio was all over the place. But that midfield is not a super intimidating attacking midfield. Do you know what I mean? That's a defensive setup in a lot of ways because you got Rice and Noble in the middle.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't matter because here's the thing. We're getting the ball down the field regardless. It's the finishing where we need to focus on.
How so? You mean our strikers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting the ball down the field, right?
Well, we did yesterday. Yeah. I mean, we did. You're absolutely right. I think over the last few weeks we've really struggled with that a lot. But what I saw yesterday was a totally different performance. Of course, a lot of that I think came down to Antonio just being a total beast. And maybe that's what we let him do, Maybe he reminds me of when go ahead, Sally, you're gonna say something.
Oh, yeah, no, I was going to say, just like how Katie was saying, I think finishing in the final third, or just performance in the final third period has been an issue for this team.
Yep.
Honestly, since preseason, I know we scored a lot of goals in preseason, but at the same time, there are a lot of times where it just broke down, like you have to be perfect in 2/3 of the field. And that last third that actually counts, just you couldn't get anything from it. So yeah, I think that's why you want to get a second or a backup striker that's, a striker. I don't know if maybe you want to set up in a sense where maybe have a Larry and the Jetty for a game and then have Antonio behind them with Fornals and a fit Anderson, and then maybe, I don't know, have Declan Rice, and then whoever else in the in the back from there. But I don't know. I think the midfield, if everybody's fit, it should take care of itself. It's just Anderson hasn't played like himself.
Yeah.
But Fornals is finally picking up. Antonio's doing his thing, but he's just not fully game fit yet. But yeah, I mean, Snodgrass, he'll put in the shift, but he's not an intimidating dude. And Yarmolenko has great skill, but he's just not fast.
And this is something that Neil mentions here. Oops, I hit the wrong thing. Sorry, Tim. Here we go. How would Diop do his right back? I mean, there are two thoughts I have. One, this is not a bad idea. Well, three thoughts. One, this is not a bad idea. Two, is it maybe time for a 3-5-2? Finally, not that Pellegrini's ever going to do that, but if we are stuck in a situation where we don't have two fullbacks, really, maybe we just put three at the back, right? And then we have Noble and Rice in the midfield, and then we have like Anderson, Antonio, Fornals. I don't know. I'm coming up with things on the fly here, but and then so that's. And my other thought is I forgot my other thought.
I think that's a great point. I think we've been playing the ball down the wing too, so that would help support the strikers in kind of what we're saying. So that's actually a really good idea.
I mean, we've talked about this before with the 3-5-2. We've talked about this, but I mean, the other thing is, Pellegrini's never going to do it, right? I mean, he's never going to. The guy it took stubborn and old, and look, it took 2 matches he had to win to save his job for him to make any of the changes that we needed to make, and even then, as we talked about earlier. It wasn't because he had an epiphany that we needed to play a different formation. It's because we ran out of players.
Yeah, he didn't have a choice.
He didn't have a choice. He got backed into it.
Yeah. I think if we were to play 3 in the back as well, I like the idea in theory, but whoever those 3 are in the back would definitely have to be very communicative. I don't know if that's the word to use, but they would definitely have to be comfortable talking, especially that person in the middle. You're the quarterback of the defense at that point. So you have to be very vocal. Um, but I think we have the people who can do it. But at this point, whatever that could happen to help, turn the tables around for the season, do it, because it's crazy to think we're really not even that far out of the top six. Not saying that we're going to finish there, but, we're a couple results away from, being back in European contention. So we'll see, but I don't know. It'll never happen, so I haven't put too much thought into it, but it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, and Richard says here, a mid three for Nalzarice and Masaraku, it makes a lot of sense. Masaraku had just got torched against Arsenal, unfortunately, which was unfortunate, I think, because he appeared to be kind of in Pellegrini's doghouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which is a shame because I think on his day he's a very good player. So Pellegrini, puts him in against Arsenal out of necessity, and then he just gets shredded.
Yeah, it's also hard to get into a game like that when you're already getting smacked, and Arsenal obviously have a lot of pacey players, but that's the thing where Masuaku just should have started from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. As John keeps saying, everybody here is saying, John's not the only one. Palace is all pace. So my thought is, you need a Masuaku. We don't have Fredericks. He's just good for speed, but he's not available. So you need a Masuaku. You need, I don't know, Fornal's not exactly a burner, but he's young. You definitely need Antonio for energy. You don't need like a Yarmolenko, for instance, mm-hmm. or a Snodgrass, but we may be forced into playing one of them. But my thought is, possibly three at the back makes more sense. And, as Richard said, five in the middle. Noble not out there because he's not the quickest player. Rice for defensive purposes, and Masuaku out there for a little bit of pace and speed. That makes a lot of sense to me. But it's never going to happen, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter. So let's we don't have a match this weekend, which is unfortunate. But we're sitting what, 15th, 19 points was like 3 points out of 11th, I think, or 10th, something like that. We're 4 points out of the relegation zone. There's so many questions that are unanswered right now. Who our manager's going to be, who our keeper's going to be, a lot of stuff that's up in the air. But given where we stand at the moment, what are your expectations for the rest of the season? Where do you think we should finish, and where would you be happy to see us finish?
I'll be happy to see us finish anywhere that's not bottom three, to be honest. But I don't know. I think with results that we've already had finished, plus the schedule that's coming up, I think, anywhere between, I don't know, I want to say maybe 11 to 15 is probably in the reading for us, which is definitely disappointing with the preseason hopes that we had coming into this season. Yeah. But at this point, I mean, that's what I see. I don't think Pellegrini is going to be gone anytime soon. But I also don't think that this team is going to allow itself to go in bottom three. They're just not going to not do anything to get us in the top half either.
Yeah, that makes sense. Katie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'd love to be in the top 10. I think that, skill-wise, that's where we could be. But I think that we're definitely going to be in that 16 range.
That's kind of what I think, too. Right now, I'm with you, Sally. As long as it's 17 or above, I'm not happy. Yeah. Going to breathe a sigh of relief and say, all right, let's start this thing over again. Do you know what I mean? Which is why my thought has always been, since we started talking about sacking Pellegrini, bring somebody in for the remainder of the season, and and then reevaluate at the end of the season, and let's talk about who we want to bring in on like a 3 or 4 year contract or whatever kind of contract you would give a new manager, 2 or 3 year contract. Because I feel as though if we go out now and we try to find somebody long term, it's not going to be the right person. It's not the right time of the season to do that. And we're going to end up with, like a 2-year contract for David Moyes, which is just got to be a disaster,
Yeah.
And again, we'll probably stay up, but this team, I think these players, when they're healthy, when they're playing together, they have the potential to be a top 6 team. I believe that when we went into the season. I believe it now. A lot of people said that. I'm not alone, and not just fans. A lot of pundits said that. A lot of professionals who do this for a living said that. I think if you look at, again, you'd have to get Fabianski back, obviously. Anderson needs to play to his full potential. It wouldn't hurt to have a fully functioning Lanzini, but even without him, there's no reason we should be dropping points on a regular basis to Bournemouth and Burnley and Sheffield United and Palace and, Newcastle and a bunch of other clubs of that caliber. We should absolutely be beating them. So I think compared to my expectations going into the season, anything outside of the top, let's say 8, is a disappointment. But given where we are right now, just give me the top 17. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly,
happy, but
yeah.
Right.
I was honestly at the beginning of the season with the team that we had, the players that we spent money on. I think, this could have been one of those seasons where we looked at it and said anything below 7th would have been a disappointment, staying healthy and all. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how many teams could do as well as, let me not say that in the terms of like somebody would be 17th, but you give like Liverpool the same injuries that we've had, and they're not in first right now. I mean, they'll be top 4, sure, but they're not going to be 14 points clear.
I mean, they're it's right. They've won every match they've drawn one, and so it's an insane record. They could do an invincible season. It doesn't outrageous. But as you said, well, you okay?
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. There was a hanger on the back of my chair that just popped off.
I thought, I thought somebody was shooting at you or something.
Oh no, no, definitely not.
I'm with you. They're but yes, you're right. Given the injuries we've had, and they're not riding 2 points away from an absolutely perfect season. This is another thing that we brought up a little bit that I want to talk about again. I mean, Southampton strugglers. I didn't think they were particularly good, and yet they almost pegged us back with Danny Ings, who looked extremely dangerous in the second half. I mean, how much do we actually take out of a win over Southampton? That's a relegation struggler, has been all season, probably will be all season. How meaningful was this game in terms of what it tells us about how good we are?
Well, for me, I think, like I said, we were definitely lucky to get out with all 3 points, because I think, if looking back at it, Ings' goal was taken away. So let's say if it wasn't, that's 1-1, and then they hit the post, and I think the crossbar too. So that's 2 for them.
Yep.
And then Antonio had that crazy, thing, and then we had VAR take away a potential penalty. So I mean, there were definitely a lot of goals left on the field that could have swung the game for either team. So I think it was more of okay, let's exhale. We got 3 points. It's good for us. Southampton are already down there. It's whatever. But at the same time, I wasn't coming away from it saying, oh, where has this team been? Like I said, they played better, but at the same time, they still left this one on the pitch to lose, I feel like, so.
The last 10 minutes were nervy.
The last 10 minutes, he barely even touched the ball.
Yeah. What was your thought, Katie, what was your thought about all that?
I mean, what you said before, we shouldn't be losing to the Sheffields and, the Evertons and that kind of thing. I think yesterday was more for our morale. I think, getting back on track, I think that's what this game was about. It wasn't about the fact that, it was a win, that we're touting that we're so, we're doing so much better because it's a win. I think it's, all right, we got 3 points. We're, connecting. We're playing better than we were. Let's just keep moving forward with this. I don't think it was, I don't think people are walking away saying, oh, we're so great now.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I feel as though West Ham supporters, and maybe other clubs do this too. I don't know. I don't support another club really, but we tend to go way overboard with our reactions in both ways, right? I mean, if we lose, it's we're going down. This is a horrible season. This is just and if we win, it's Champions League next season, right? it's kind of crazy. But I'm with you, Katie. I think this was huge in that we needed these 3 points. We went and got these 3 points. We got them away from home. And I know Southampton have struggled, but they weren't in terrible form, I don't think, coming in. I think they'd actually played relatively well the last couple of games coming in, which probably helped us because anytime we play a team that's lost like 10 in a row, we always lose that game, just like against Arsenal. But the tastefully named Isaac Hunt makes a good point here. I say tastefully named because my older son's name is Isaac. So, and he spelled it correctly too. That's wonderful. Anyway, Gramless sucks. I hate that guy. He's terrible. But yeah, I think you're. Oh no, I didn't spell it correctly. I spelled it with 2 S's. Isaac, what are you doing? It's supposed to be 2 A's. Come on, man. You're not helping me at all here. I'm too old to see the screen anymore. Anyway, you're not helping me at all here. Get the S. Switch the S to an A. Help us out. Anyway, yeah, I think for the morale it was huge. And what I hope is that, and we don't know how this worked, right? What I'm hoping is that these players came together and they said, let's do this as a collective. Let's do it for ourselves and for each other. It's not about Manuel Pellegrini. It's not about saving his job. It's about us being professionals, going out and playing together, getting this done, staying together. I know that with the money in the game today, they don't really care about this, but I'm hoping that they all said to each other, let's not have a relegation on our resume. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Obviously, the guys who are good enough will get picked up by somebody else. Doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? We get relegated. Felipe goes somewhere else, and Aller goes somewhere else. You know what I mean? The players who deserve it, Fabianski, the players who deserve it are going to go somewhere else. They're going to stay in the Premier League, or they're going to go somewhere else in Europe. But I'm hoping they all got together and had some pride and some some spirit and said, this is about us, and maybe that can continue. Because I saw that against Chelsea, and I saw that against Southampton, and I didn't see it against Wolves. I didn't see it against Arsenal, and I don't think Pellegrini had anything to do with any of it. I think it was them getting together and making the decision to be better and put out a better effort. At least it's what I'm hoping anyway. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as many times as you see on social media, players saying, "Oh man, we really do love the coach and this and that and whatever." It's like, well, I mean, if you guys love them as much as you say you do, then why don't you play for it, play like it? If anything, if you don't want to play for the fans or the badge or whatever, that is what it is at that point. But I mean, if you guys say that there's nothing wrong with the coach, then on-field action has to speak for itself, especially if you're going to play for yourself. Because if you're trying to earn yourself more money somewhere else, putting in performances like they've been putting in isn't going to help any of that,
No, it's not going to help them. No, it's not going to look good at their resumes. I mean, no matter who they are, it's going to be, and as you said, the performances are have been poor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is look at the form these last 12 games, and it's obvious that a lot of these guys are either underperforming or just not playing not good enough. So that's not going to help them in their careers either. So I hope at some point, maybe there was a panic that set in, right? Pellegrini finally said last week, I might not have my job on Monday, which we'd all known might be the case for a long time, although I'm with you, so I don't think they'll sack him because it's too much money to do it. But he finally said it, and I feel as though maybe the players kind of woke up and said, you know what? He may not have his job on Monday. We may be in the relegation zone on Monday. We need to take this seriously. I don't know.
Yeah. Or, it could be one of those things where, if they did have a conversation like that, it could be, well, if we're going to play to get him sacked, well, then what's going to come after that? Because you get somebody who's a lot worse than Manuel Pellegrini to come in, and try to, quote unquote, right the ship, and if we get a manager right now who's not currently in a job to, help us for the next 6 months, well, it's one of those things where it's like they're not in a job for a reason. You know,
That's awesome.
yeah, and I get too. You know how I think what Arsenal, Everton have both hired former players. That's cool and all, but I don't. I always get nervous with that because I think it's more so a move for the fans. Like, hey, remember what this guy did for us? Well, he's going to get the team to play like that. That doesn't work all the time. You know, I know Arsenal, they're still playing, you know, whatever. And Everton actually, they got a draw against United today, and they've been playing better.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things where at this point, like I said, they're not going to get relegated. So just wait till the end of the year,
Right.
get rid of them, then find somebody who can come in, have 2 or 3 months with the team, get players they want. You know, because at this point, you know, what's the point? Because we get somebody new, lose the next 3 games, and it's like, okay, well, Pellegrini could have lost us these 3 games.
Yeah, I do think that I think right now for us there is still a very real danger of going down. I do. I feel that way because again, you know, one of the points that Tim made, and he's signed off for the evening, so he's not going to hear me say this, but was that you know we beat Chelsea, we lose 2. We beat Southampton. If we lose 2 more, if we continue this pace of win 1, lose 2, lose 3, lose 4, win 1, lose 2, that's relegation form. That's not going to be good enough to keep us up. So I think there's a real threat of going down. But as you said, the unknown that's out there is, especially with this board, right? I mean, the players have to know that these guys are unhinged. That Sullivan is crazy and cheap at the same time. That poor David Gold, who's the only one I actually like, as I think a little past it, he's 80-something years old, and that Karen Brady is an absolute monster. So, you know, they could bring in, again, there's a rumor about Harry Redknapp. I mean, Harry Redknapp? Really? 72-year-old Harry? I mean, you know, can you imagine these guys? Can you imagine Pablo Fornals? Can you imagine Declan going from 66-year-old Pellegrini to 72-year-old Harry who's been doing I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in the UK? You know what I mean? I at some point, I think you're right, Sully. I think they looked at each other and they said, this could actually get a lot worse. You know, this could get a lot worse. Really.
Yeah.
Fun. So,
No, absolutely. I don't know. I mean, at some point, you think even if you don't want to play for the coach, this losing just sucks. You know, nobody likes it. Players, fans, managers, whoever you are. You know, because I mean, those players, they got to look at the news. They got to watch TV. You know, or not got to, but you know, they see what's going on and what's said about them. You know, and granted, like I said, we won today, but it's not as if it was a complete 180 of a difference. So,
you know, and you know, and this is a good point that Neil makes. Did Aller go to Pellegrini when he celebrated his goal? I didn't notice. I've mentioned it before that the only game I ever saw at the Berlin, I'll talk about it again. It's probably one of those drinking game things you can start drinking if I talk about this game. I was almost 10 years ago. I was when Zola was manager. We were flirting with relegation as always. And Alessandro Diamante scored a free kick right at the stroke of halftime against Birmingham City. And the players all rushed over to Zola. All 11 of them rushed over to Zola and embraced him because I think they really loved that guy. You know. Now he had a rough season. We stayed up on 35 points. It was difficult. He wasn't really getting it done. But what happened after that? We brought in Avram Grant and went down. You know, so there's no guarantee the next guy who comes in after Pellegrini is going to be better. It could get worse. You know, as we said, it could be worse. And I'm thinking like you were saying, and maybe the players looked at each other and said, man, let's like make the best of what we have, you know, for now. And again, Pellegrini was kind of forced to make decisions he wouldn't have made otherwise, and it sort of clicked. But is it going to click like that the rest of the season? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. So we're getting up close to we're actually a little past 10 o'clock Eastern time. Sully hadn't even had dinner yet because he's in California. He hadn't even had his evening gin and tonic.
right.
his regalo, you know, for the evening. But we're getting close to signing off. But Katie, anything else that we haven't discussed? Anything you want to talk about? Any thoughts? Any shout outs you want to give before we go?
Yeah, there's not really anything I want to, talk about today. I just kind of feel like we're in this blah state right now. Just kind of looking forward to see where we go next. But shout out to Wally. I missed you this weekend, buddy. So hopefully I'll see you at the next game.
Wally told us in the chat room that he was in New Orleans, which is a very sensible place to be no matter when you go. Always a good place to be.
Love NOLA.
Love. Have loved it for many years, and would love to get back there again soon and see our friends down there. Our friends, our West Ham supporting friends down there. Obviously, he loves Philly. Katie, who wouldn't? But if you can go to New Orleans, you probably should.
I was at Mardi Gras this year, so I will have to make another excuse to get back.
There you go. Sally and Sacramento and not Fresno. Anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, nothing too crazy. I just hope the next 2 weeks for the team, they take some time to reflect and actually, get healthy and then come out for Crystal Palace, motivated and prepared. It's always nice to, when you start getting those second time around, go back and get 3 points in their place. I know it'll be a nice little Christmas present for the club after whatever season so far. So we'll see what happens, because it would kind of be, it'd be a bummer to leave 2019 with the loss. So
yes,
we'll see.
It would.
It's down to them.
Yeah, and after Chelsea, I remember saying, and I don't know why I felt this way, just a gut feeling, that having a game 3 days later was not going to be good for us. That we built some momentum with Chelsea. If we had a whole week to kind of, enjoy the win and continue to build momentum, I think we'd have been better off. Had to play Wolves midweek, lost that match, did not look good. And we did. We lost momentum immediately. Now we have a whole different situation, right? We've won again. We got a big 6-pointer. We've pulled ourselves out of the relegation zone, not permanently, obviously, but for the time being. And we have 11 days, 12 days between games, and I'm hoping it's time to heal, rest, build some confidence. I like to enjoy a West Ham victory for more than 2 days, too.
Definitely.
Man, give me a little time to savor it. You know what I mean? Give me a little time to wear my shirts and stuff and not be embarrassed all the time to have all my West Ham stuff up at work. So hopefully it'll be a momentum builder this time. We usually do. This is interesting. Next, Katie. The next Premier League Fan Fest is in Philly.
Yeah.
We went to the one in Boston. We went to the one in Boston back in March, and it would have been a lot of fun had it not been for the actual match. Other than that, it's a really pretty good event. They give you a lot of booze, a lot of. If you guys are watching in Philly, let me just give you a little bit of advice. I don't know if you've done this before, you know how it works. You get on an email list somehow, somewhere, where you can get like advanced tickets to get in. That's how it worked in Boston anyway. You have to get a ticket to get into the. I don't know where it's going to be in Philly. In Boston, it was at the Cask and Flagon, which is a big bar. If you wanted to get into the bar and get the free food and the free drink, you had to have like a ticket to get in. Otherwise, you had to wait hours and hours. So, if you can get on the email list and get a ticket, do that. That's kind of how it works.
All right.
They put on a good show. I got to say, NBC Sports puts on a really good show, and I think it's NBC Sports Premier League as a joint thing they do together. They do a good job. And I don't know when the Fan Fest is, who we play on that day, but hopefully it'll be a better match than the one we saw. Our fans in Miami got to see us win on Saturday at their Fan Fest, so hopefully it'll be something like that. I was going to say, normally we do predictions for the next match, but you know what? We're going to have another Sunday night before the next match. So, and besides, we don't know who our keeper is. We don't know who our manager is. We don't know anything. So I think there's very little reason to predict anything tonight. But anyway, to everybody in the chat room, I saw Gabe earlier. It's always good to see my buddy Gabe down in Austin. Obviously, Wally, Richard, who's been with us, John, both the Johns, John Callender, John Nolan. A lot of people in the chat room tonight. Big crowd tonight. Big group of people on. We want to thank everybody for being here. Katie in Philly, Sally in Sacramento. Thanks to you guys. Everybody enjoy walking into work tomorrow morning as a winner. It's going to be a great feeling. It's going to be a great feeling. And other than that, I will just say, come on, you Irons.
On your Irons.